Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we have an interview with two Demosplash organizers, not just one, but two. We have Lincoln and Shelby here. Demosplash is taking place later in the month of October, so just a few weeks ago. The exact date is...
October 31st and November 1st.
Okay, that was a test to see if you're paying attention. So welcome Lincoln and Shelby. How are you both doing? Hope you're doing okay. So we agreed on this interview to talk a little bit more about Demosplash and why you organize Demosplash and what's happening and that kind of stuff. So I guess the beginning question would be, how did Demosplash start off? Did you attend other Demoscene events and then decided to organize one? Did you just have an idea? How did the idea come for Demosplash in particular?
Sure. I think I can talk about that a bit. So I personally had never attended any sort of demo scene event before Demosplash. Like, my first exposure to the demo scene was probably encountering a crack draw from the 90s in like old software I was finding for I had been interested in vintage computers for a long time, and I think I was like looking for a copy of some old piece of software, and there was like a crack draw in there, and I didn't think much about it at the time. But so the computer club at Carnegie Mellon University here in Pittsburgh had a number of people who were interested in the demo scene, and they would do a Friday night event called Demo Night, where they hauled a bunch of retro hardware into a lecture hall on campus and screened a bunch of demos. I think a few of them had gone to Block Party back when it was in Ohio. And then just one year, a bunch of us started talking it's a bunch of work to go haul all of this hardware into a room and set it up just to screen some old demos for 2 or 3 hours. What if we tried to make it a bit larger event, tried to open it up to the greater community and not just students at CMU? So in 2011, I think.
No, 2011 was the first Demosplash.
So in 2011, we did that. We made a website. We made announcements about it. Steph and Kev from SceneSat ended up volunteering to come and live stream the event. They've been doing our live stream ever since. They're great people. We hugely appreciate them. But we never really intended to be like a full demo party with compos and stuff, but some rando just emailed us and asked, so, hey, how can I submit something to your compos? And it's like, well, we weren't really planning to do compos, but if you want to submit something that would be really cool, we could give you a shirt or something.
The only demo scene event I had ever been to prior to Demosplash was, in fact, the last demo night that was ever held in 2010. This was Lincoln and I hadn't even started dating yet, but he said, I'm in computer club and we had this thing called demo night, and he explained the demo scene to me a little bit, and I thought, okay, that sounds cool. So I went to demo night, and I remember Lincoln standing at the front of the room with a TI. What was it? The TI
99-4A, probably.
Yeah. I was going to call it the 49, but yes, you got it right. The 99-4A, and that was seeing Lincoln with the TI 99-4A was my first foray into the demo scene. And I thought, wow, this demo night thing is really cool. And when I found out they were going to make it a bigger event, I thought, yeah, I have to participate in this.
So were you both students at the time, or how were you connected with the CMU Computer Club?
We were both students at the time. At the time of the first Demosplash, I was in undergrad and Lincoln was in grad school.
Okay, and how did you retain the connection with the computer? Is that normal in the US? Because here in Europe, we don't really retain. I mean, when you graduate from university, you just, scatter. So how did that work for you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, part of it is that I'm native to the Pittsburgh area, and my mom worked for Carnegie Mellon when I was a student, so I had some connection to the university before I started going there, and Carnegie Mellon isn't the only university in Pittsburgh. There are a number of universities, and people live nearby, and we still live near the university. So I wouldn't say it's super common for people to stick around after graduation, but we made very good friends in computer club, and we still lived in the city, and I've lived in Pittsburgh my entire life, so I was happy to continue doing events in Pittsburgh, and Carnegie Mellon was a good location for a demo party. So we
You
just
have
kept
like
doing it.
new members of the computer club also helping the organization, or how is the organization of Demosplash nowadays compared to the beginning?
We're older now than we were at the beginning of Demosplash, but over the years we've added a few more core organizers, and the person who's probably our most responsible and most organized core organizer wasn't there at the beginning. He came to Demosplash a few years later and really helped tighten up the ship, so to speak. He improved the way we ran meetings and improved the way we ran the event, and we've accumulated some people over the years. But of course, since COVID happened, and since students at Carnegie Mellon are always busy and are always stressed out, but the problem seems to have gotten especially bad since COVID. So I think students don't have as much time to help out with things like Demosplash anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the computer club's also just kind of a small organization. Like, it's probably CMU's oldest computer-related organization, but kind of a lot of other tech-related organizations have popped up. Like, there's still a small and pretty dedicated group of students. Students do help out with Demosplash, but once again, like with classwork and stuff, it's harder for them to do some of the tasks or like some of the planning that we have to do over the summer. You know, they're often off at summer internships or that kind of thing. So it's some of us alums and other people who've been around a while doing that kind of stuff.
Okay. How is Demosplash different from other demo scene events? I mean, if you haven't attended others, I guess it's a bit hard to know for sure, but I guess you've seen the live streams and read reports. So how does Demosplash distinguish itself from other demo scene events?
So, I mean, I guess so. I did actually go to Assembly back in the summer of 2012. So, actually, a few people from the CMU Computer Club did that. We wrote a demo that ran on an Apple Lisa and then flew the Lisa all the way to Helsinki. You know, we ended up taking first place in the wild compo there, which just about covered the cost of shipping a Lisa to Finland and back. But I think the thing that we've always made a big deal of at Demosplash is just tons and tons of hardware and doing stuff live, like between the CMU Computer Club, various people involved with the organization, that sort of thing. We have lots and lots of old hardware. We've imported like hardware from Europe that was never sold here, since the demo scene's a lot bigger in Europe, and say most Commodore 64 demos want a PAL C64. They won't run on an NTSC one, that kind of thing. So just being crazy enough to bring all these old computers, a bunch of video converters, all that good stuff, and making a big deal of running the demos live on real hardware. And I think just the diversity of hardware we bring is one of the big things that I think sets us apart from some other demo parties I've seen.
Yeah, definitely. I remember watching... Go on.
The only other demo party I've been to is at Party. Lincoln and I did not go to Assembly together.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I watched live stream of Demosplash a few times, and I remember always having like a huge array of computers and like, okay, now we're going to connect this one up. And Accomplished Niche is trying to frame us again because they sent a demo for this very particular platform, but we do have it. So I'm going to go there and bring it and play the demo on this specific to run on real hardware. And I think that's really cool. Like you show the actual hardware running all the demo stuff. A lot of other demo parties tend to pre-record stuff. And things like that. But yeah, I think it's cooler when you see the actual machine doing the actual thing. Yeah. What are Demosplash main features for this year? I guess the vintage computers is the main thing. Did it change anything from last year in particular, or is it pretty much, same thing, different year?
Well, this year we have a Halloween theme. Because the dates we were able to get at our venue were Halloween and the day after Halloween. So this year we have a spooky theme. I think that's the big one.
Yeah, we always try to plan it.
Yeah, we're not like strict about requiring that compo entries have to fit the theme, but we always try to have a theme for doing, like, say, the shirt designs, signage around the event. And we'll try where we pick like existing demos to screen. We may try to tie into the theme a bit.
Not even the candy is different. In previous years, Demosplash has been in November, and we always have leftover candy from giving candy to kids on Halloween. So all the organizers bring their leftover candy from that they didn't give away to neighborhood kids, and we have candy available as snacks.
Very nice. So being one of the parties that started in a place without, many references and not a local scene happening. So what are the suggestions that you can give to other people who are trying to start a demo scene event in places that doesn't have already an active demo scene? It's a question that I get often. I have friends in Bulgaria, in Taiwan that want to start an event, and they're like, I don't know how. I made a short video about it, but I want to hear your guys' opinion on that.
I mean, I think the big one I would say is like, basically, you've just got to be willing to give it a try, take a chance on it. And yeah, like I know the demo scene is not huge everywhere. I mean, it's nowhere near as big as it was in the 80s and 90s anywhere, but like it was never massive here in the US. I think the fact that we stream our event, we do take effort to reach out on existing platforms like demoparty.org and Pwet, or streaming via SceneSat, things where other people in the demo scene know where to find us, I think definitely helps.
Yeah, any other pro tips for setting up or the first steps? How did you get the idea for the demo nights originally?
The demo night started before I came to Carnegie. Actually, I think there was demo night even before you arrived.
Yeah, I think I want to say the first one dates back to like the 90s or so. Like I would have to ask, like we know a couple of the people who were around back then, but I think that was a few people thought it was cool. Hey, let's show these things off.
Yeah, one thing I'd say made a difference was having a group of people who wanted to do it together. You absolutely can do a demo party on your own. Dr. Claw does it, and he does it very successfully, which, God bless him, I know I can't run a demo party by myself, let alone one that's as good as that party. I would say finding your tribe and just finding your people who think this stuff is cool and are willing to come together is important. And oftentimes you can find that once you take that initial step of being the person who wants to create something cool, you'll find other people who want to come along.
Do you do any kind of outreach locally, like to other groups that might be interested, like people who are interested in game development or makerspaces or that kind of stuff? Or do you just use the campus of CMU to do that kind of work for you?
So we've done a little bit of outreach to local organizations. In Pittsburgh, there is a hackerspace called Hackers Guild that just opened up in 2024, and we had our demo screening party for Demosplash at Hackers Guild, because the demo screening party happens over the summer when the students are gone, and for a lot of people it doesn't make sense to go to the university because a lot of things are closed. So we had our demo watching party at Hackers Guild. We set up YouTube playlists. People could suggest things that they wanted to watch, and we screened demos from the past year that we think we want to show at Demosplash, and we did that together. And some people from Hackers Guild were interested and watched along. Additionally, we have a friend who's bringing a museum to Pittsburgh. Would you be interested in talking more about the museum?
Sure. So actually, I guess one of the other things I'll say, I don't know if this sets us apart from other demo parties per se, but a thing we like to do, we haven't been able to for a couple of years just because after COVID, finding people's been a little bit harder, but when we can, we like to do chiptune concerts. Like I know one year we flew Jerzmie in from Poland. His performance was great, but unfortunately there was a Lufthansa strike right as he was supposed to go back to Poland, which complicated things for him a bit. But so one year we had Inverse Phase, a chiptune musician who at the time was based in the Baltimore area, come perform at Demosplash. And a bunch of the organizing committee ended up getting to know him really well. And so he, for a while, has been running a computer museum, the Bloop Museum, out of some shared space down in Hunt Valley, Maryland. But he, the the owner of the shared space is trying to expand their own museum. Brendan had to look for somewhere else to go and ended up purchasing this large former municipal building in suburban Pittsburgh. So he's in the process of moving his museum there, and we've been working with him as well on the outreach side, because like there's a lot of shared interest between what he's trying to do with the museum and what we're trying to do with Demosplash.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know Inverse Phase. I talked with him when he came to Revision. So yeah, and I know about Bloop Museum as well. So yeah, really cool initiative. I wish them all the best in that regard. It's really, I didn't realize that it was so close. So which is really cool. But yeah, Pittsburgh area.
That's also an interesting story because when I was a student at CMU, I had a part-time job in the student records office, and I told my boss about Demosplash and the demo scene, and he said, "Do you know Inverse Phase?" And I said, "No." It turns out he was friends with Inverse Phase, and he really enjoyed chiptunes. So my boss facilitated the introduction between the Demosplash organizers and Inverse Phase. So that's another way the university facilitated a connection for us.
Really nice, really nice. Another question that I had here for you is, how does the current political climate affect your event? Is there anything you can, because there was this big with the whole new Trump office thing, there was doing some crackdowns to some universities and stuff. I don't know how much Carnegie Mellon is affected by that. Does it affect you at all, or is it just, watching things happen around you out of control?
As of now, the current administration has not interfered with the operation of Demosplash. Doing remote entries can be a challenge if entry submitters are from countries that don't have a good relationship with the United States. But how prizes are handled in that situation is handled on a case-by-case basis.
You did have a lot of submissions from Russia, and I wonder if you would still get. So yeah, I hadn't even considered that, but yeah, wow. Okay, I was going to ask about remote submissions as well, in terms of how is the process, how can people get in touch if they want to submit something remotely? They just send you an email? Do you have a party system that you're going to open to the public? Well, how is that handled?
Sure. So we do have our own compost system. Actually, I guess that's another, being a whole bunch of pretty technical people. Back when we started Demosplash, we decided, that party systems that were already out there, weren't necessarily exactly what we wanted. So one of the organizers and his brother just decided to roll their own, and we've been using it ever since. It's been really good for us. But yeah, we do have a compost submission system. All of the rules about all the different compos and how to submit are on the Demosplash website, demosplash.org. We don't have the compo system open just yet. We usually open it about 2 weeks before the submission deadline. And basically just we ask people to, submit your demo, submit a pre-render of it if you're worried that it's obscure retro hardware or might only work on some odd configuration, that kind of thing. We make our best effort to test stuff beforehand, and we'll try to let you know, hey, we tried running this on our Amiga 1200 and it crashes, and sometimes it's been somebody only ever developed in an emulator, and it just, like, I know we had at least 1 year where someone's submission crashed. I let them know, hey, it crashes on hardware, and it was just, a C, like, uninitialized variable thing that in the emulator, the uninitialized memory just happened to be 0, but on real hardware it wasn't.
Yeah, that can happen a lot.
We do also deliver, if you win a prize in one of the compos at Demosplash and you're remote people can still win prizes. We'll still mail them to you. We were a little delayed this year getting the prizes mailed out to people, but those should have went out this week, and we will get those out more quickly this year. I also think I'm going to try to turn on the lamp a bit since it's gotten
quite light is good. Yeah, yes. That's much better.
There. I didn't want it on earlier because it was making both of us look extremely orange, but now that the sun has gone down, I don't think we look too orange.
It's okay.
I guess we'll just fit the Demosplash theme this year, but...
Yeah, you do have the orange D, and this year it's an orange pumpkin.
So everything is orange this year. It's on theme. I was going to ask you about the best memories from the previous edition. So do you have a year in particular that was particularly interesting for you, or a memory that you would like to share?
In my opinion, I think the best year we ever had was 2019, just in terms of like the quality and quantity of compo submissions we got, the amount of attendees we got, like things generally went very well. Then of course 2020 happened and we had to rapidly adjust plans. So we ended up producing the event fully remote. In fact, if you go back and look at the 2020 live stream, you will probably recognize this room and some of the objects in it, because about half of the 2020 live stream was streamed live from here. The other half was streamed from another organizer's house. And then we had Kevin from SceneSat and one of our other organizers at yet a third location in the Pittsburgh area, mixing the two streams in OBS, inserting bumper slides, that kind of thing. So it was a very distributed production, and it was remote for everyone.
Very nice. What about you, Shelby?
I agree that I think 2019 was our best year. And I still have fond memories from previous years. I think my favorite was I remember the year we had Yerzmiye and Inverse Phase also visited, and they both got to meet and talk about each other's music, and they both really enjoyed the conversation. I thought that was really great to see Demosplash bringing people together.
Do you usually
and
have?
Of course,
go on.
Oh, and of course, getting to watch Inverse Phase perform after I'd known him as a friend of my boss for many years, and then finally he was at Demosplash and he was performing. That was really cool.
Do you usually have a live act happening there, or was this just a one-off that you haven't really been doing that much?
If we can, we like to do live chiptunes. Like I think the first couple of years we didn't. There was one year that we tried partnering with another event that had like an electronic music concert. That didn't work so great for us, because basically like people came to the first hour or so of our event, ate our pizza, left to go to the concert, and like didn't come back for the second day. And I think that might have been part of what made us decide, hey, maybe we should try to like book our own chiptune concert as opposed to having people bust to an event off-site because, for that reason. But yeah, we definitely like having concerts. There have been a couple of years that we just weren't able to because like we couldn't find a performer, or like I guess it would have been pretty difficult to do in 2020.
But this year is going to be an oscilloscope music demonstration.
Nice.
I think that's the closest we'll get to having a full concert this year.
Really cool. What about live coding stuff? I've seen a lot of live coding scene activity happening around. I know you had Shader Showdown a couple of years. Do you have any live music coding stuff related at all, or not really?
So this year we're actually we're having like a shader workshop. So somebody reached out to us interested in giving a talk, and we talked to them to try to find out what they wanted, and we're like, actually, hey, what if we expand this and, turn it into a workshop for attendees? So, we're not planning to do a compo of it this year. It's more of a, hey, learn the basics of this, have some fun. And it would be fun to try to bring the shader compo back sometime, because it was a fun compo to do. We did have a little bit of trouble getting entries for it. And honestly, the hardest part of it was just getting a couple of matched reasonably high-end gaming PCs we could use, because we wanted to be fair to the entrants and be like, no, everybody gets a computer with the exact same specs. And just finding two identical PCs that were powerful enough to be fair to give the entrants was a challenge, because most of our collection is retro and not stuff we'd ask people to do a shader compo on.
But the live shader compo was fun, because that was also the year that some folks from New York City came out, and one of them, as it turns out, was friends with the drummer of my favorite band, and we talked about that for a while. She recognized the band on, from one of the patches on my vest, and she said, "Oh, I'm friends with the drummer." And I named the drummer, and she's just like, "How?" We had a great conversation, and we're still good professional contacts to this day, and we wish each other a happy birthday and all of that. So I've met some really cool people and made lasting friends and lasting professional networks through Demosplash.
All right. I'm out of questions. Do you have anything that you would like to talk in particular? Any pains that you have? Any requests? Any ask for help that you might have, like in needs of organization stuff? Anything like that?
I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. Running an event like this is hard. We have to move a lot of stuff. We have to coordinate, with a lot of different people. Some of our organizers live in other parts of the country, so their schedules tend to be a bit different, and that sometimes makes getting our planning meetings scheduled difficult. Dealing with the university. Like, we've been really lucky that CMU has been pretty good to us as a venue. Like, I know some other American demo parties have failed because they ended up owing their venue a bunch of money. Like, thankfully, Carnegie Mellon, and especially like Catherine Capitas, our contact in the computer science department there, has been very kind to us over the years. But organizing a demo party is a lot of work. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on that, you don't see if you're just watching the stream. You may not even see a ton of it if you're an attendee, but everything from, like, even for example, like last year we made the decision to stop doing catered food for the event because when we first started, we were in a room in the computer science building. The building locked at like 6 p.m. So if people went to go get dinner at 7 or 8, they couldn't get back in. And, we had kept doing catered meals, but it got to be a bit of a headache because we would get people who were just coming in to take the food and not to actually attend. And then, like, after 2020, it became really hard to get places to actually cater food for us, and just the logistics of having to deal with trays of food, put them on warming trays, make sure there isn't like mayonnaise sitting out to go bad or something. It was like, we're all stressed out here. Rather than cutting back on the demos and retro gaming and stuff, at this point, there's enough restaurants nearby. There is food in the building. We think we can just get rid of the catered food and then pass the savings from that on to our attendees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice thing. And I guess trying to outsource as much as possible to the visitors also helps a little bit. Like the perks that you should sometimes give. If someone from the visitors wants to help manage that, it'll always helps a lot, I guess.
Oh yeah, we absolutely encourage that sort of thing. Like, we've had attendees offer to help out with things before, or like an attendee who's entering a compo on some obscure piece of hardware has sometimes actually brought the obscure hardware and helped us run it if it was a thing we didn't have. Or even like one thing that's worked pretty well for us. So I guess another thing we do that I'm not sure how many other demo parties do is that we'll take like the back third of our room and turn it into a retro gaming space where we break out a lot of
Nice.
old consoles, old home computers, PCs and Macs from the 90s, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of years ago, we just randomly had somebody who was interested in attending reach out and say, hey, I'd like to bring, I don't remember what machine it was. I'd like to bring my machine and show it off. Can you give me some space? I'm like, sure, we'll give you a table in the retro gaming area. And, we do tell people, please don't be bringing food or drinks near the computers. And, like, obviously we can't guarantee nothing will happen, but, you'll be there. Our attendees are generally pretty respectful. And that's been really nice for us both because, people are passionate about showing off the hardware they're interested in, that, they've put effort into tracking down, restoring, all that good stuff. Yeah. And it's less heavy stuff we have to carry.
Yeah. You have some good connections with people who do like electronic repairs and stuff like that. I mean, dealing with vintage computers and retro computers, you always end up with a few electronic wizards around.
Yeah, that's him.
I do a fair bit of the repairs to our retro hardware. Like, there have definitely been a few demo splashes that I was up until 3 a.m. the night before, replacing a bunch of capacitors in something, furiously hacking a composite mod into an Atari 2600, dealing with the joystick somebody broke. I often joke that I should buy stock in Nichicon or something because I have like so many electrolytic capacitors sitting in my basement.
The rest of the organizing team also brought you to assembly so that you could fix the Lisa in case anything went wrong.
Oh yeah, because when we did that, I was like fresh out of college. I had no money at the time, and originally I was like, I don't know, about spending several $1,000s to fly to Europe, and finally one of our other organizers was like, I'm worried that computer's going to break and you're the person who knows how to fix it. So like somebody ended up lending me the money to pay for the plane ticket because like I had literally just started working, and
Mhm.
I of course did pay him back, and it was a fun trip. I was so glad I decided to go on it in the end, and thankfully like the Lisa did not actually break down.
How was assembly for you? Because I know assembly, was it still in the Hartwell Arena when you went? 2012, you
Yeah.
said? I'm not sure. Okay. So yeah, because it's like very big event. So and a lot of things happening there, and the Finnish demo scene is very peculiar in itself. Did you go to the Busembly Hills? That's what I really want to know.
Yes. So some of us did at least briefly stop by Boozembly. We did want to be conscious of not going too far with that, since I think for at least part of assembly we were working on finishing our demo. And I do remember like when we actually placed, we all went on stage and somebody had to hold the Lisa, and of course I got to do that as like I think one of the bigger guys in the group that went there. So somewhere there is an old picture of all of us standing on stage with me holding this apple Lisa, and I think someone else holding a sack of potatoes that was like a joke prize we got. But yeah, assembly, just seeing an event of that scale, seeing what it takes to run that, I mean, I could tell you stories about how hard Demosplash is to run all night. I'm sure Shelby could, is because anyone involved with organizing, but running an event big enough to fill an entire giant arena with that, I can't even fathom. So just the sheer scale of it. And I think the other thing that was kind of cool for us was, so back then, I don't know if they still do it or not, but Assembly did the whole like old school village thing where if you were planning to enter a demo on retro hardware and were going to be tinkering with it there, they let you know, and there was like a separate area for people to go work with their retro hardware away from, the lights and noise of the, video game festival going on at the same time. But just because we had brought this obscure American business computer that was never sold in Finland there, like the organizers kept bringing various people up just to like meet
To
us
see
and
it. Yeah.
see who are these people from Pittsburgh who brought, Apple's big flop from before the Mac in just to run a demo at assembly.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story. I'm sure the assembly organizers really loved you going there with the computer and all. How many actual organizers are in Demosplash? Have you counted?
We have a core group of 4 or 5 folks who show up to meetings, and then there's a slightly larger group of people who they're not at the meetings every week, but they show up during the event.
To help out, yeah. Okay. And how many visitors do you usually have? Just to have a sense of scale.
It depends from year to year. Like, COVID really killed our attendance, obviously, but like last year, I think over the whole event, we might have had about 100 people come in. I mean, one thing, since it's on a college campus and it's free to students, there will be like a
Random
lot of
students.
students will, stop by for a half hour or so. But we've had pretty dedicated outside attendees. Like there were some people who like I'd have to go back and look through like badge printer records or something, but there were people who've been attending pretty consistently as long as the events existed. We have had people fly in from Europe to attend before, which I think that was a really cool moment for us, being like, hey, this demo party we kind of accidentally started now like actually has people flying to Pittsburgh to come to it.
Do you still organize the demo nights thing, or is it just the yearly demo party now?
So Demosplash is the big thing now, though like as Shelby mentioned earlier, we will do a demo watch party usually like a month or two before Demosplash.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of that is like we want to see what kind of new stuff has come out in the scene. Because like one thing is there's a whole bunch of demo parties that happen like not long after Demosplash. Like I want to say Silly Ventures usually pretty soon after us, and always has a lot of like cool Atari stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So as kind of both a fun way to watch some demos and a way to do, a bit of homework before the party on, hey, what kind of stuff do we want to screen? We'll get a bunch of people together, watch new demos, try to take notes on them. If it's something that runs on some oddball piece of hardware, it's like, oh, hey, is this cool enough that I actually want to try to track one down?
Because one of the things that I've been testing around with a few other small party organizers, trying to do regular or regular-ish nights for just screening to keep the community a bit together and coming and socialize a bit more. So I was wondering if you guys still keep up with the demo night, since it sparked the whole Demosplash, or if Demosplash itself became that recurring thing that you always look forward every single year. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, or like do you wish that you had more events but you just don't have time to organize them, or do you think that once a year is good enough? Or
yeah, so I guess I'll let you go ahead.
For the amount of work that it is, I think once a year is plenty.
Yeah, like something the scale of Demosplash with the size organizing crew we have is a little hard to pull off. But this one thing I had forgotten to mention was one of our other organizers does like to do, smaller demo screening events at, other events he does, like some like vintage computer festivals, a few other, conventions, as a way to both, introduce more people to the demo scene and hopefully get them to come to Pittsburgh and go to Demosplash. And I know like last year, some of us actually did a panel at PGX, Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, a local event here. And I think we got at least a few attendees out of that.
Nice. Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, I'm out of questions. Anything you would like to add about Demosplash that people should know about?
If you are not in Pittsburgh, or if for any reason you are not able to attend Demosplash in person, you are welcome to watch the stream online. Watching the stream online is free. If you do want to come to Demosplash in person, I believe we retained our ticket price of $20 for the event. It is a cash-only event because we got rid of food and are doing cash-only instead of a ticket vendor. We were able to lower our price to $20. So I think it's reasonably cheap enough for folks to come. And one of the interesting things is that when we lowered the price of the ticket, shirt sales went up. So people still spend money at Demosplash, but when the ticket costs less money, they buy more shirts.
Do you have a supporter ticket? Like some parties have like a cheaper ticket and then a higher in case people want to pay more. They have the supporter ticket with a few more merch and stuff like that.
Yeah, we haven't done that. I know at one point, and this was largely my fault, but at one point we had this incredibly Byzantine pricing scheme of, admission, a t-shirt, and food were all separate items. But in some cases that led to things like somebody buying the food but not buying admission to the event. And that also kind of turned into a headache. It was also a big annoyance on the back end for checking people in and printing their badges and making sure they got their shirts.
Yeah.
So we've discussed it before. I think, we like keeping the event accessible. Maybe it's a thing we would discuss at some point, but that is one other thing I'll add about running a demo party is I don't think anybody runs a demo party because they want to make a profit on it. We're lucky to basically break even and cover the cost of like printing t-shirts and issuing prizes.
Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. Thank you both for this interview. I think it was a fun one and interesting for people watching there. Any final words before we wrap up?
Thank you so much for having us on your channel, and I can't wait to see what people think of the interview.
Okay, that's it. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.